Welcome back to One's journey of unwinding the mind and, of course, your daily microdose. Now, tune in to the latest episode of One's journey. Today, I want to talk about making idols out of routines and how this happened to Patrick and I this past weekend and how this just happens sometimes without you even realizing. In A Course in Miracles, they talk about that sometimes to be careful of routines because they can become idols. And when I say routines, I mean anything that we consistently do and that we end up beginning to place salvation in. And what do I mean by that? We talk a lot about placing salvation in other people, other activities, inanimate objects. But sometimes the actual outline of a routine and the act of doing it, we place salvation in. Have you ever had a day where, the statement, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed? That statement right there is a representation of placing salvation within a routine, because the routine would be getting up on the other side of the bed. And because you didn't do that, therefore you had a crap ass day. I want you to think right now, is there something that you do every single day or every other day that is vital to you being successful, feeling good about yourself, any of the above? And if you stopped it, or if I told you today you no longer can do that, how would your reaction be? If your reaction is, oh my God, and it immediately is all over the place, and you're like, what? What do I do instead? I need this. That's an opportunity to take a step back and to unpack and understand that. Doesn't mean that necessarily you continue down that path of like, oh my gosh, I can't live without this. But it's showing you that you were slipping into a routine becoming an idol. And Patrick and I will own that we had done this. And maybe if we had taken more of an aware step back, we may have noticed, but I'm not quite sure. Literally, religiously, every single Sunday, we get pizza from this place in Tampa. And it is literally the only pizza I can eat in the area because it used true Italian ingredients and I don't get sick from it. So there's other places in Tampa, St. Pete area that claim to use imported Italian ingredients, and I promise you I get sick. I think, and I would need to look back to when we started going, that it was literally almost to the date of a year, exactly 1 year of doing this consistently every weekend. These people know us. It's our thing we do after we go to the beach, so we don't have to cook. We take it home. Patrick eats the leftovers for lunch. It's absolutely amazing pizza. I love it. Even just thinking about it, I'm starting to get a little sad again, which I gotta check myself. Is my salvation in the pizza? This past Sunday, per usual, Patrick orders the pizza about a half hour before we leave the beach, and we get the pizza, we get it home, and I'm like, this tastes a little different. And Patrick's like, yeah, it seems like it's a different texture. Wonder if they changed an ingredient in the dough. Whatever, no big deal. You can change ingredients, that's fine, as long as you stick to what you state, which is imported Italian ingredients. And Patrick proceeded to get the night sweats that night, and I felt awful the next day. My belly was rock hard. I looked like I was 6 months pregnant. All the reactions of gluten. And I believe it's the actual wheat germ. I would have to look that up. There's different regulations in the US versus Europe in regards to what can be in flour. And since being a child, they've continually changed those here in the US. That's why many of us now all of a sudden have gluten intolerances, even though we didn't have as a child. It's not because we have changed, it's because the ingredients have changed, FYI. So if you think you have a gluten intolerance, go try some actual Italian imported food and you might be able to have bread again. You're welcome. Anyways, we're like, oh my gosh, what did they put in this pizza? I called on Tuesday when it was back open and spoke with the manager who knows us very well. We come every Sunday. It's been at least a year. And I said, hey, did you change your ingredients? And he's like, actually, we added in an additive to make the dough go longer. And I cannot remember what it is. In that moment, I realized that I wasn't going to get to have my pizza again. He promised he would make the dough different, but Patrick and I had a whole discussion about when we're there to support a business when they're honest and true and not going to cut corners. And they cut corners within the dough and added an ingredient that is known to have side effects like that and raise the prices at the same time. But where else are they cutting? Anyway, I went down a rabbit hole. I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to eat on Sundays? We're going to have to make another meal. I love the pizza. I'm never going to be able to eat pizza again. It was obvious. I had placed an idol in that, not only that routine, but that pizza, all of the above. And it completely changes what our week would look like. But Patrick was like, Ashley, this is a direct representation of the ego. We should be grateful it lasted as long as it did, because anything within the ego illusion will separate or die. We will experience some sort of separation from it. So we got to do this for a year, but we became reliant on it. I felt like we're not gonna be able to eat. There's no other way. We're gonna have to cut out the beach. My mind went all over the place, when in reality, the goal is to be to the place where if that happened, be like, yeah, that sucks, I really like pizza, but oh well. And I've gone to that point now. Like, we're gonna get Thai food instead. Super excited for that. But it was a mirror, and it's interesting because it was the same week I had some other like moments of, oh my gosh, what I'm practicing is sneaking in other areas. But that is truth. We grew up coming from a place of the ego, living in an ego illusion. This is work to untie ourselves from the ego. And the most important piece is that we are open to being aware when new things creep in, and we don't act as if we know it all, and we don't act as if we should know it all. But we're like, oh, there's another leaky hole in my bucket. Patch that hole up. Now we move forward, and I'm sure I'll find another one. But it really caused me personally to check, what other routines am I relying on? Even we kind of have a routine the day we record. And I know I said in a past video that the second I start to freak out if the routine isn't exact, I know things need to change. But this pizza piece was completely out of our control. It was not our decision to change. It was others' decisions outside of us. So I feel like that was a much grander mirror that was needed. I encourage you, like I said earlier in the video, to take a moment and think about, we are creatures of habit. It's a common statement, and I start to wonder as I learn more and more about this illusion and the ego thought system versus the Holy Spirit thought system. The creatures of habit is a direct representation of coming from the ego thought system. I believe it fully aligns with that, because we utilize being a creature of habit as safety, predictability. But in reality, in the ego illusion, nothing is like safe. There's only so much predictability until we've set ourselves up for failure, and then there's not. So I encourage you to look at your life right now, your weeks, your days, your hours, and is there some sort of routine that you, without knowing, are currently seeking salvation in? And if Ashley said today, as soon as you figured out you can't do that anymore, how would that rock your world? And how can you begin to break that salvation from that routine? Change it up. But routine easily becomes an idol. And Patrick and I have known that. So we change beach locations that we go to. And we make other small changes because we are routine oriented. This illusion is routine oriented. It is a habit oriented place. But if you stay in one for a couple months and then you move on to another one, it takes away that it becoming an idol without you knowing, your control, your knowingness. And that's what happened with me for the pizza. And I don't know, Patrick was upset as well. And it's a crappy situation, but reality is, we're lucky to have it as long as we did, because it's within the ego illusion. And it will always separate. You will always experience separation. And this was a huge opportunity to practice forgiveness at the level of the mind and realize that none of this really happened. We're dreaming this. And we really don't go to the beach every weekend. We really don't eat pizza. We're just dreaming it. So we can dream this weekend we're going to eat Thai, and it will hold just the same amount of weight because there is no hierarchy within the dream. The forgiveness opportunity and the realization that our anger and sadness was really about the initial separation was also a level of understanding within this. We talk about that all sadness, anger, frustration at the deepest level is because of the initial separation that we believe occurred from God when in fact it never did. I hope this was helpful for you to be able to evaluate where you're at and what possible routines are starting to become idols for you, and then provide you an opportunity to mix it up a little. Again, share where routines are, because if you share a routine that maybe someone else has similar, they might be like, oh my gosh, I didn't think of that. Again, the premise of Be Me is to walk each other home, and the only way to do that is for you to share as well. As always, until next time, remember you are worth it, and I love you tons. Bye.